The greatest lie that they've told this generation is that experiences are more valuable than assets. And that delayed uh, pause that happens until one day your life does get to a point where you want to root, it costs our community hundreds of thousands of dollars.
I think what's like most important, Chase, the first time I met you at that co-working space, you were unapologetically honest then. And I've experienced you that way the whole time. And I tell people, like, if I bring anybody into the She Can Work community, whether that's through a podcast, a workshop, our programs, whatever, to speak in front of the women or speak in an environment where they're bringing value to the space because of who they are, because of what they know, it is because they are a truth teller, period. And someone who's not going to hide the answers. People call that gatekeeping now, but I ain't cool enough for all that. So I'm excited to have you because I know you always just talk about the thing that needs to be talked about and share it unapologetically. And you're not trying to hold anything back for some motive that I don't know, only you understand. Um, so before we jump in, like tell us about who you are. Like who is Chase Sloan? Tell everybody what you need them to know about you so when they are hearing you speak, they know who's talking to them.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much just for having me. I'm so excited for this conversation. And it's interesting because you said I wasn't unapologetically honest. I would probably say I was unapologetically broken. And I was at a place where I knew my secrets couldn't get saved. And so thank you for creating that space that allowed that vulnerability and transparency and just being able to admit my story. I am Chase Sloan. I'm a Houston Harris County real estate professional, and I really care about our community. And because of that, my mission is to advance Black homeownership, create wealth builders, um, educate and inform and empower our community so that way we can have the stability, the security, the safety that we all desire. And so like I said, by trade, by profession, I'm a real estate professional, yet by passion and heart, I'm just a friend that really cares about what happens in your life and your family's life and looks to connect the dots and help you build wealth and cash flow along the way.
I love that. Who is Chase before all of that? Like before you were the real estate agent, like who was that Chase?
Chase was a high jumper. It's funny, I was journaling once, and Chase was the college student that applied for the scholarships, applied for the internships. I started off my collegiate career at Clark Atlanta University, where they tell us on the very first day, you better find a way or make one. And that was my story. And so I was the person that was always solving for X because my young adulthood was an environment. I was nurtured in an environment that taught me you must solve for X. It doesn't matter what the problem is. You better find a way or make one. And so I've always been ambitious. I graduated from the University of Houston with a degree in psychology, a concentration in human development and family studies. So I've always loved human behavior. And at that time, I believed that I was going to take a psychology route in my profession. And I think around senior year, I was just ready to graduate and kind of over it and didn't want to go to school. And at that time, I had a limiting belief that Black folks don't go to therapy. So I felt like I was on a track that was going to lead me to an audience that I was not looking to save. Not saying I'm not looking to save, yet I was looking to give back to my community. And so I pivoted and then I spent the rest of my kind of work years, I say, working odd jobs. I was a bartender. I was working in retail. I was still working somewhat in my field as uh, an adolescent. I worked in a young adults treatment facility and was like any typical 20, 30 years old. I had multiple jobs. It was kind of like, get it how you can get it.
Mhm.
when it came to money. Yeah, there was no really clear course. So at that time, new shows were coming out like Million Dollar Real Estate Listing or all of those real estate reality shows. And I was frustrated in the jobs that I had. And I remember a good friend of mine was like, "You sell polos, you can sell homes." I was like, "You're right. I can." Because, like I said, I was a professional high jumper. So I was a top salesperson in the jobs that I was working. And this around 2008. And if you guys remember, there was like a big economic pullback, a recession, whatever they want to call it. They cut my commission. It made me really mad because I said, "How am I showing up doing what I'm supposed to do and my pay gets cut?" I
Right.
didn't like that at all. At all. I didn't like that as a 27-year-old young woman. That I didn't like that at all. And so that's what led me to get my real estate license. And it has just been a journey of wins and failures, success and struggles, highs, lows, so many lessons in between.
Mhm. And because you could sell polos, you could sell houses. But why did you choose to sell houses? Like, what was it about real estate that felt right for you?
It was the show. So there was this show on Bravo. It just looked exciting. I did like working with people. I did like the excitement of winning a deal. Now, at that time, it looked like competitive sales floor behavior,
Yeah.
who had the most sales in the year. It's funny because I was working at the Galleria Mall, which is a mall here in Houston, and we had a lot of international clients. And one of the things I remember seeing early was that when our friends from Mexico City came to Houston, they was ready to spend a bag. So I learned how to sell in Spanish because I was losing sales to
Mhm.
my colleague who could pick up the conversation in Spanish. And naturally, like attracts like. So you're going to do business with people that reflect you. And I remember learning just enough to sell Spanish. Don't switch the conversation. We don't need to talk in Spanish now. I can't go that far. But if you need to buy a black polo,
Mhm.
and a size 7, I can do that. And so what brought me to real estate, and I tell people I didn't have a background in real estate. My family, they're not real estate professionals. I'm not third generation real estate. I really was just a person. I've never been afraid to try. And so I just said yes and took the classes. I don't even think I talked to anybody. I think it was just that simple. I found school, I took the classes, got my license. I I I think one of my gifts and curses that I don't overthink a whole lot of stuff. I just
Mhm.
kind of, "That sounds like a good idea, let's say yes." I say yes often
Yeah.
and, go proceed as the doors are open.
Yeah, I think it's like there's something because I was going to say before you said it, there's a trend emerging here. But there's like something about like not just saying yes, but like executing. Because I think sometimes we resolve in our minds that we want to do something, or that it's a good idea. So you like affirm yourself, but don't necessarily decide to start moving, and you start moving. You
Yeah.
decide and you go.
And I was frustrated. I think a lot of times the reason we don't execute is we're not actually frustrated. So, like I said, I was working multiple jobs. My commission had been cut, so I wasn't making the income that I was making anymore. And at that time, like I said, and these were all happening concurrently. So I was working in the mall, and then I was bartending. So I never really saw the sun because I was always at the mall during the day, and then I was at the restaurant during the night. And I remember that my friends, would come over and hang out at the house. And then by the time they got home, it'd be like, "Okay, well, we're gonna go ahead and let you go. I know you just got off work." And it was like, I want to play too. So the
Mhm,
execution came from pain. And I think a lot of times we miss that. We think that if you're comfortable, you're not gonna execute. Why? Why
mhm,
would you? You're comfortable. So it's usually not until there's a breaking point that leads you into taking action. That's how
yeah.
that happened.
I've, like, seen a video like, your content, and I've, like, heard you, like, speak about this. You talk about wealth building, and it's like and you're very passionate about it. But
Mhm.
define it. Like, what does that mean? So that I understand and everybody understand who's listening. What does wealth building mean in your context, and then also just in your own definition?
So to me, wealth building is the solution to generational legacy. And one of the things that I found is that we know a lot of buzzwords, legacy, and I want to break curses, and and it all sounds great, even wealth building, and yet we're not. The conversation kind of stops there. It's like, how? How does that happen? And so when I joined the organization I'm at, where I currently hold my real estate license, I was privy to so many questions I had never even been exposed to. I
Mhm,
truly believe that people grow into the conversations around them. And so I was learning all of these things, and I was on social media seeing all of these complaints. And so much of the complaints were outward focused, what the government is doing, what redlining did, what the politics and all of those things are true and valid, and yet what are we going to do about it? And
mhm,
so, as I was drafting my mission for my company, wealth building for me became very simple because it's not all about money for most people,
mhm,
right? It is about safety, security, and stability and
mhm,
access. And wealth building, what many people forget, is a forced savings. And so if you've never been exposed, and we're talking about in the context of real estate, I know there are plenty of ways to do it, stock markets and bingo and whatever else it is that you're interested in. Yet in the context of real estate, what so many forget is that there is a forced savings that happen when you own compared to when you solely rent.
mhm,
And my mission is to bridge that gap. My mission is to create strong communities through strategic real estate and business ownership. So when you own into the community, you care about the trash. When you
mhm,
own about into the community, you care about the type of structures that are going up. When you own into the community, you create programs and nonprofits for the children to go to, for the elders to go to. The challenge is the communities that we live in, the owners don't live there.
mhm,
So it just, if XYZ neighborhood is falling apart and the trash isn't getting picked up, no one cares because they don't live there. And then the
mhm,
people that do live there don't have ownership, so they don't recognize their power yet.
mhm,
And so to me, and I trust this answered the question, when I talk about wealth building, I'm breaking generational curses through strategic real estate ownership and
mhm.
business ownership. And when you do that, the money reinvests into the community.
I think you also are redefining what it means to be a part of a community,
Yes,
uh, right? Like, you're redefining, being in a community is not just living in the community. It's not just, like, talking to the people there, but it is taking, like, ownership in what goes on there, ownership in its upkeep, accountability in some ways for it, and then also, like, what I heard you say, there's like it's multifaceted. It's like I don't just care about the school because my kid goes to the school. I care about the trash because I don't like to live in filth. I don't I don't want something that I have invested in, um, or just, like people don't even think of it as an investment. Something I bought, I don't want it to look bad. It's like cleaning my shoes because these are my shoes that I bought. I'm gonna
yes,
clean my streets because this is a street I live on, but not it's my street because
it
I own.
is, right? If we're talking, let's just say we weren't talking about real estate, we're talking about vehicles. You treat a rental car different than you treat the car that you own.
Mhm,
You hitting curbs in the rental car, you scratching things, you got Cheetos all over the place in the car. Yet when it's your car and you loan your car out to somebody, you want that car returned back in the same, if not better condition than when you found it. And it's the same way in neighborhoods. When I purchased in my community, one of the first things that I did was create a Facebook group. And in that Facebook group, we talk about, hey, somebody's walking up the street 3 o'clock in the morning. Everybody's sharing their ring camera footage. When storms come, people are, hey, I just went out. The waters are clear. You get invested, you get rooted. And I think part of the challenge and that I see and in the absence of community, so many people say it's so hard to plant community. It's so hard to find community. And I ask myself, where have you rooted yourself? Because
yeah,
we also pride ourselves on being free birds and moving every 2 years. And I don't want to get locked down and I don't want to talk to my neighbor and I don't do this and I don't do that. It's not possible to have community without roots
mhm,
because you're always going to have a revolving door. And so time builds roots. Even if you stay in an apartment complex for 10 years, eventually you're going to know all the people there because you've been there long enough.
Yeah.
Yet when we have a revolving door in our communities, it breaks up the sequence and the baton passing that actually happens that, like our parents remember and our grandparents remember, you know, Mr. Wilson on the corner,
Mhm.
the cookie lady down the street. Those things aren't just imaginary people. Those are people that established identity because they were there for a significant amount of time and committed to the area.
Yeah. So, like, what are some of the early experiences that, like, if you can kind of go back, that shaped how you like think about money, how you think about wealth building, how you think about ownership? What were things that were happening in your life that maybe led you to here into your beliefs that you have now?
So, one of the first things that I had to learn was that you cannot save yourself. You cannot save your way to wealth.
Mhm.
And I just was looking at my own life, and I had been working since, I guess, I don't know, my first job was 15 years old working at Sonic. And I got my real estate license at 27. And so that was about 15 working years that I didn't have a whole lot to show for it. And what I mean by that is my savings account. All
Mhm.
right. So I was making money, and the money wasn't growing. If emergency happened, I was spending the money. So it was this constant cycle in this loop, this rat race, as we call it. And so when
Mhm.
I changed my thinking that, okay, saving is not enough, mattress money is not enough, shoebox money is not enough, not to change my legacy. It may get me through the day to day, yet that's is always going to be an emergency that's going to deplete your savings. So that was the first thing that I had to learn. You can't save your way to wealth. Then I had to learn that I had to save different though, because the way I was looking at money was, okay, I'm going to pay my bills. I'm going to make sure I have a roof over the head. I'm going to take care of what I need to. Wait a minute, treat yourself. I'm going to go ahead and have fun. I'll just save whatever's left.
Mhm.
There was never anything left because I was paying myself last. So
Mhm.
God forbid I don't pay my electric bill. God forbid I don't pay my rent. God forbid I don't pay my phone bill, right? Those all have consequences. So I prioritize everybody outside of me before I prioritize myself, which meant take your savings out first and put it in another account. So that's the second lesson that I believe we have to shift in our thinking. That
Mhm.
saving doesn't happen after you pay your bills. It actually comes from the top, just like tithes, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Give the first of your fruit. Give your first fruits. So that changed the way I did that. And then investing, which was betting on myself and buying a home in my budget. And then I want to kind of hold here for a second. Buying within my budget. So when I purchased my home, I was very, very scared. So I said, I got to get something that if something go wrong, I can go get a job at Sonic.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I, I, I listen. I'm all for the mega mansions. I just knew I wasn't there yet, and so I
Mhm.
purchased my first home within my budget. I talked to my loan officer what those numbers look like, and then me just saying yes, right? I was able, I was ready, I was motivated. I said yes, and I bought the house. And then and Tiara, here's what's interesting. For the 15 years I was working in the workforce compared to the 15 years that I had owned a home,
Mhm.
the equity compared to the savings
Mhm.
is probably 20x.
Yep. I think it's interesting. So there's like this new kind of generation, or I don't know, I don't want to blame it on generations. I think that there's a new narrative out there that you don't need to own a home. Like you can live in an apartment forever. And I've had these conversations like several times with people. And I also am someone who like was the happiest. Like my family, we talked about like our favorite place to live. We've like owned multiple homes. We've lived in multiple places. And our favorite place to live was actually an apartment that we were renting. We're like, we love living there. Let's move back. And also I understand what my home has done for us as an asset. So like my conversation with people is often like, maybe you don't prefer to live in a home. So that's not the conversation that we're having right now. Like when you're having a real estate conversation, it doesn't always mean you own a home for you to live in. But how do you reconcile that with people? Like, what is it when you're talking about wealth building through real estate? How do you reconcile? for people, like the difference between investing in real estate or utilizing real estate as a wealth building strategy and becoming a homeowner because people don't want to become homeowners. They want to live places where people do things for them. Some people do. How do you reconcile it?
I think that's really fair. And, a mentor of mine said the greatest lie that they've told this generation is that experiences are more valuable than assets. And that delayed uh, pause that happens until one day your life does get to a point where you want to root, it costs our community hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I like to use math as a reality. And the reality is that when you do the math on where your money has been going compared to where your money could be creating, people can self-discover if it's for them. People say, "Oh, well, I don't wanna own a home because I don't want to do anything in the house." Own a townhome,
Mhm,
townhome communities that'll cut your grass. I don't
mhm,
I have a list of people that I call when things happen in the house. The challenge is that most people are getting advice from people that don't reflect the life they desire. So again, this goes back to the initial pain point of generational wealth, generational legacy. So you can't save your way to wealth and you can't save your way to legacy. So one of the things that I'm very okay with in my business is that not all people will work with me. I don't think if you don't want a home, you should not buy a home. You shouldn't do it. Don't do it. Right. I
mhm,
also think it's important for you to consider yourself 20 years from now, 30 years from now, when history shows that real estate doubles every 20 years.
mhm,
So when you do change your mind and you're 60 years old and you're looking to retire, can you afford the real estate market or do you plan on working for the rest of your life? That
mhm,
is the difference between starting now and creating options. I have a lot of people that are moving out of the country. They don't want to live here anymore. I say, what would it look like if you owned a home and leased it out and that created cash flow for you in the country that you're moving to? What
mhm,
would it look like if you own a home and you lived in it until you are actually ready to leave the country and now you have a savings that comes from the equity of the house that you would be paying? You're paying it anyway. You're doing it anyway. And
mhm,
I'm always curious into who's planting these seeds that homeownership doesn't matter anymore. Who benefits?
mhm.
The landlord? That's who we're listening to?
Yeah.
BlackRock. That's who we're listening to. The billionaires. That's who we're listening to that's telling us homeownership doesn't matter anymore. Yet when you talk to women like me, we talk to women like you that can actually speak to how owning has saved them.
Mhm,
Owning has saved me.
mhm.
I don't know where I'd be if I had 5 days to make up my rent because
Right.
life happens.
Mhm.
I do know that I've called my mortgage company sometimes and said, "Hey,
Can we
it's a
work
little
something out?
funny. It's a little funny right now." And they've
Mhm.
worked with me. And so it's important. Let whatever you decide be whatever you decide. Just get wise counsel that
Yep.
can see beyond today. That would be that is my approach and that is my advice.
Yeah. I love the, I like this thought around, seeking wise counsel. I often and, interrogating who benefits from that decision. I don't think we do that enough. Like, we don't. Like, that I'm just gonna say we don't. I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs. That's who I spend most of my time with. A lot of people who say that they're, operating based on facts, but actually are operating on vibes.
Mhm,
So the conversation that you're actually having with yourself is one of comfort and, your definition of, peace or your definition of ease or whatever it is, but not a strategy. It's not you thinking about, a strategic approach to your life. It's about you making decisions that make you feel good in the moment and that you might believe will benefit you in the future, but you actually don't know because, again, it's not strategic thinking, it's just how you feel right now. And our emotions take us all kind of places that we ain't got no business going. So
mhm,
there's that. There's it is hard to change people's minds. And you signed up to do this. You literally signed up to be trying to change people's minds, even though it's hard.
mhm.
What makes you the right person to shepherd this work?
What makes me that person?
What makes you the right person to shepherd this work?
I care. I care, and I am here, right? I'm here. It's one thing to hear things on, and I know this is a podcast, yet it's one thing to hear things from people that have not been where you've been, that cannot relate, that cannot empathize, that cannot see you.
Mhm,
And like I said, when I got really clear about advancing Black homeownership, I'm here because I understand the nuances and every roadblock that stays in front of us, right?
mhm,
And so, one of the reasons why it's important when you work with me to choose to work with me is because I 100% believe that no one is going to see you like I see you. Most people aren't going to ask you questions to get to the core of what you want. They're going to tell you what you want. And nobody needs to be told. I work with adults. So I don't know any adults that want to be told anything. And one
mhm,
of the ways that you can tell if a person cares is the number of questions that they ask you. So work with me because I'm going to ask you questions so that way you can decide what makes sense for you. And after that, if you have enough information to say, you know what, now that I have the right questions, I can answer those and I can make a decision and I can question whether or not I'm making decisions based off of fear,
mhm,
rumor, limiting beliefs, whatever that outcome is for you. Yet I actually don't invite people to work with me. I invite people to have a conversation.
mhm.
Let's just have a conversation. If it makes
Yeah.
sense, then we'll go forward. And if it doesn't, you have somebody that cares about what happens to your family
Mhm.
in real life,
Yeah.
not for clicks.
And not for the sale in and of itself, right? Like there's just a sometimes people are driving to close. It's actually terrible sale. It's a terrible sales strategy to enter into a conversation driving to close. Uh, just drive to like connect. Change the
Yeah,
like change the point of the conversation. Was there ever a time where you felt like I shouldn't be doing this? Like I'm not the right person to do this. Like
every
do you
morning.
that?
Every morning. I get sad every morning, right? And I'm joking. Yeah, I think that we think that entrepreneurship is like once you decide, like once you execute it and got that real estate license, like everything goes up. And it doesn't, right? Like you have new objections, you got new hurdles, the laws are changing all the time. Like I wonder, like, should I have just been a corporate girly where I just have to? I ask my mom that often. Should I have
Mhm,
just have turned widgets for a living, so I don't have to think about all this stuff, so I don't have to think about marketing, so I don't have to think about when the deal closes and when it falls out, when I don't have to think about I've been chasing real estate groups since 2010. Nobody
mhm,
paid me for just showing up. You know, I know people say show up. Don't people don't pay me for showing up. They pay me for stepping up. All right.
mhm,
So every day I have to step up. But every day I'm like, am I is it time for me to pivot? These are real questions that I ask myself. You
mhm,
know, and when we talk about, I just want to go back to, people that drive to close, like that's such a lack strategy because it ends up you're forcing people to make decisions that may not be best for them. And like I said, with me being in this community, I have to see you. I have to see you again. I have to see you at rodeo. I have to see you at 5015. I have to see you again. And I
mhm,
want you to see me and say, man, Chase put me in a deal, man. I lost my house
mhm,
because it was more important, you know? So, yeah, I still wake up wondering if I'm the right person. Comparison gets me like anybody else. I look at numbers, I look at what top people are doing in this industry, and I'm like, I mean, God, is this really where you want me? Like,
right,
and it's not so much because of competency, it's because of reciprocity. And I think that when you are a giver or when you are a leader and you pour so much of yourself into a pulpit that ain't really hearing you just yet.
mhm,
And you know that you got to preach that sermon 8 times or 7 times 7, 7 times 77. Right. You get tired. You get tired. You wonder if, am I talking to anybody here? So, yeah,
right.
every morning, I ask myself, God, have your way, Lord. I stop praying that prayer because then he'd be having his way and I'd be mad.
No.
But yeah, God, let me know.
I've decided and resolved that I no longer ask open-ended things of the Lord because He's interested in that way. If you open it up, like, "Have your way," that's maybe
Mhm,
don't have it your way. Like, maybe have your way and also help me see the steps,
mm.
just enough. Like
Let me create some parameters on the
Yeah.
way that I am open to. Lord,
Mhm.
I've just learned to pray
I think
specific
people
prayers.
hearing you oh, sorry. I think people hearing you, say, "I wake up every day," like like an everyday question, why I should be doing this.
Yes.
I think they can relate to that, especially in business ownership, mission driven work. If you're doing something you're passionate about, people can understand that. Like, it's like I get up every day and am I actually seeing the change that I want to see because of the effort that I'm putting in? And the metrics don't ever tell you the story that you wanted the metrics to tell you, and neither does your bank account. It never does. And I had someone tell me I used to say what all the girlies said on the internet. I want to be a multi-million dollar business. People used to say, I want to make $1 million in my business. And I used to say, I want to run a multi-million dollar business. And someone said to me, I said that to someone, and they said to me, what is going to be different about you or the business when you get to a multi-million dollar business? Like, what does that mean? And I tried to like describe it. It was very vague. It was all like, you know, we would have a building. We would have, I'd be able to do this. I would have this staff and this. And he was like, yeah, well, it'll be different about you when you have a multi-million dollar business. And I was like, for me, again, like I have this dream of like what my office is gonna look like all of these things. So he said, when you become a multi-million dollar business, you're going to spend all of your money on things. And I was
Yeah.
like, what? No. And I was like, I make sound financial decisions. He was like, you literally just named all of these things that you're going to take those millions and spend it on. But the like moral to the story was like what's really important. Like he was like, ground yourself on what's really important about when you get up every day to like build and move this company forward, what's really important to you?
Mhm,
Because that's the thing that's going to keep you doing it. Like the $1 million will just become $1 billion, will become $1 trillion, and then you just keep spending it. He was like, but the thing that's keeping you going, that's the thing that's going to grow the company and make you say yes over and over and over again, even when times get hard. And
mhm,
so, what's your driver? What's your thing? I know my thing. My thing is I want to be doing what I know that this current company is an assignment from the Lord for me. And because I'm an obedient person, generally, but also obedient to the Lord, I'm like, I'm on assignment and there's nothing that can take me off the assignment. But
mhm.
what is it? Why do you keep saying yes, even though this is insane?
My assignment is to unapologetically increase the net worth of Black America. And I do that by helping people own strategic real estate and create businesses. And so everything that I've been there, everything like you said, the $1 million businesses and the buildings, $1 million businesses have $1 million taxes. Million
Right?
employees have a million employee taxes. Offices have office fees, and like that's just listen. This is to me the other side of all of these wishes and dreams. And so sometimes we don't realize why we're being held back because we're not ready for the responsibility that dream of yours requires, right? Yeah, you want $1 million business. Are you willing to pay the taxes for that? Are you going to be on social media complaining every day? Yeah, I want you to own homes and all these things, but are you going to be on social media complaining that your taxes went up when your taxes only go up when the values go up? So are you really ready to have wealth and legacy? Like so often we just aren't, and that's why I think God has us wait is because he is preparing us for the overflow,
Mhm.
right? He's asking us to be a good steward. One of the ministers, I remember one time we were in service and he was saying that, you know, God gave you an assignment so that you can be a distribution center. He blesses you so that you can bless other people. So he's watching what you do with your current blessings and who do you give it to. So I'm very big on philanthropy, right? There are communities within Houston right now. And I'm like, man, I dream about I just like what you're doing, sis. I
Mhm.
want to be that. I want to be that auntie. I want to be that elder that puts a little something in your hand and walks away. Don't need nothing. Like, I want to be the little old lady on the corner in the street in Third Ward, Houston, Texas, that the people just pass by and I sit on the porch and I tell them great stories on just how things happen and where they work. So I'm driven by the desire to be able to give from overflow, not from obligation, not from I'm going to give them my last and now I'm struggling, which is how I've given before. Right. I've taken that shirt off my own back and then now I'm cold and shivering. Like, no, I want to give you a shirt off my back. I want to give you a coat out my closet
Mhm.
because there's overflow. So what my assignment is to increase the net worth of Black America. How do I do that? By normalizing conversations about money and wealth and ownership. Why will I do that? Because I know a lot of dope people and I just want to be able to pour seeds into them.
Mhm.
You know,
Huh.
when I buy black and spend black. So when you close with me, it's going back to you.
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't know if you can say that about every other person that
Mhm.
sells real estate. I do know when you close with me, go eat at the Rado Market. I go, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I spend that money, I circulate that dollar back with us.
Mhm. What is, um what is something that you know about wealth building in real estate that you keep having to explain to people who work with you that you're like, "This is simple." Like, if we just this is the thing I know. Like, if you just did X or if you just thought, believed, whatever it is, X, I know this is going to put you on the right path.
That time heals all mistakes. So here's why I say that. So often, real estate, I think especially after the pandemic, has been positioned like a get rich quick. Oh, I'm gonna buy this house and in 2 years I'm gonna have 50,000, 100,000 equity and all these different type of things. And so we become gamblers. You can be a gambler in real estate too. You can bet on the market. Then the market shifts and interest rates go up and people think that they made a bad decision. So then they fail that first time that you got to call insurance or the first time that the lights flicker and go out, you're like, oh, get somebody else to do it. And you
Mhm.
start wondering if you made the right decision. But see, real estate markets happen like this. And, it's like a graph. It goes up, it trends up, but it's cycles. It's up and down. It's up and down. What I know for sure is that investors think in terms of decades, gamblers think in terms of years. So if you will just hold on to the real estate, you will net up. Since cavemen's been living in caves, real estate has always gone up.
Mhm.
I've had stocks go to zero.
Mhm.
I have some stocks that I bought at 70 that's worth $2.42 that I'm just too shamed to sell. Right?
Mhm.
I do know that real estate recovers. And so if you will just start, if you just start, and start where you are. I'm not saying start with the mini mansion. I'm not saying wait till you have the perfect marriage and the perfect kids and the perfect job to start. No, 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 no. Start where you are. Buy the condo, buy the townhouse, buy the single family. Everything don't have to be a multi-family. You can start where you are and then have a plan to transfer that equity. That's what I learned witnessing people that are doing a whole lot more for me. And I think in our community, the conversation hovers around first time homebuyers that we never cast a vision far enough to be a second time homebuyer and a third time homebuyer and a fourth time homebuyer. Most people don't get their dream home till their fifth home.
Mhm.
And each step along the way, you've got equity working to your advantage. You're playing with the house's money. It,
Mhm.
you gotta be able to like start small or think big, but start small. So I can't just focus on the River Oaks conversation. I got to start that conversation with where you are,
Mhm.
and make it digestible so that way you're not so intimidated because people are buying real estate every day.
Mhm.
Yes, even in this market. Yes, even in this economy. Your circle may not be. That's just an invitation for you to meet more people in community. See how
Mhm.
that works?
Yeah. What do you say to people who say, 'cause I hear this all the time, "I'm trying to get my coins up so I can get me a house," or "I'm not ready yet because I gotta work on X, Y, or Z." So there's the, like, narrative of not quite ready yet, or when I get ready, I will, but that, like, that keeps going for years and years and years. What do you say to those people?
How will you know? How will you know when you're ready? I ask more than I say. All right.
Mhm.
Realistically, when would that be? What specifically are you looking to see change? Right? Because I think one of the things that we allow ourselves to believe is that, you know, there was a meme and people were like, waiting for that housing market to crash. That's when I'm gonna buy. Waiting for that housing market to crash.
Mhm.
And I never understood that because I was like, do you guys know why markets crash? It's because people lose jobs and they can't keep the house. So they lose it to foreclosure. What you're praying for is an economic crisis, waiting for the housing market to crash. So you're praying against yourself because who's to say that your circumstances are going to be the same? So
Right.
what I like to help people see is, are you working a job? Have you been on the job for a year? Okay, good. Do you have good credit? You have a 620 or above. Okay, good. You got some savings in your pocket? Okay. I always say shoot for $10,000. Let's
Mhm.
just stop setting low expectations. Set a goal for $10,000. Do you have $10,000? I can work with you. Let me do the rest. Let's see what we can get in negotiations. But if you can say yes to those three things, you should say yes to yourself. Because again, when we romanticize what we desire in life, we actually make it a whole lot more complicated than it actually is.
Yeah. Because it's so nebulous. I tell people, like, leave some, like, structure yourself, set some goals, leave some openness to possibilities, but structure out that thing so you at least know where you're going initially. Like, be open to, like, going around the corner for a little minute, but know where you're going. What do you say, I wrote this down on my paper and I was like, "Oh, I have to ask her this." So, there's women who are listening to this podcast right now, and they're like, "Oh my god, she's, like, so smart." But that ain't me. Like, they're actually telling themselves, they're convincing themselves that I like, I understand her. I even believe her. She seems like she really knows what she's talking about, but what she's talking about is not me. Um, what are you saying to her about just taking the leap into real estate as an investment or as a wealth building strategy?
It's already you. Somebody has just itemized it for you. Right?
Mm,
So like people, the same people that are like, well, I don't want to own a home because I don't want to take care of this and I don't want to take care of that. I don't want to do all this. I remember during Hurricane Harvey, real life situation on how real estate can save you. I sell real estate. During Hurricane Harvey, half of the city was underwater. So what happened to my business? None. It went to zero. Okay. So luckily my house was solid and I knew of some like contractors that were moving to the city to do whatever and everything like that. Well, I was having difficulty making my mortgage. So I leased out my house. I moved back home. I leased out my house. I kept my house. I was able to get rent.
mhm,
Every single thing that they wanted, I rolled it into the rent. They didn't want to deal with nothing. They didn't want to sign up for the electricity. They didn't want to sign up for the Netflix. They didn't want to sign. So everything that they said that they wanted, I rolled it into the rent. Oh, okay. Lawn care, rolled it into the rent. Housekeeping, rolled it into the rent. Appliances, rolled it into the rent. Right? And we know that, right? As business owners, we create packages
mhm,
for our clients. And that package is all the things that you say that you want at a price that makes sense for me to do it for you.
mhm,
So when I say, or when people say, well, that's not just me or this, it is you. Someone has just packaged it in a way so it don't feel like it's you because they know that it takes time to file your taxes. It takes time to say 10,000. It takes time to do this. It takes time. So instead, let me just charge you not just what I pay for the mortgage, but the convenience fee.
mhm.
So to me, I look at it like already doing it. You are paying for somebody to cut your grass. You are paying to you just didn't wanna make the call, so I made the call,
Yeah,
and I charged you 30% for it,
and they rolled it into your rent. Uh,
and
I
I
love
rolled
when
it
that
into your
happens.
rent, right?
Yes.
And some people are like that. Some people are like, "I just want one bill,"
Mhm,
right? That you owe it to yourself to figure out the math
mhm,
to why it's not you, because math is reality, and when you actually compare not just your rent to what your mortgage would be. Yet back to the beginning of the conversation, your rent to the cost of missed equity. So
mhm,
if I told you that convenience of that $2,200 rent payment, which is the average rent here in Houston, is costing you $200,000
mhm.
in exchange, would it be worth a conversation to see if this is really not you?
Yeah. I'll say
Like,
I think it's the math, like, that's what you're naming, is, like, do the math. So, it just you just, like I don't know, you just made me even think about this differently. I remember when we got our first home, and I was like, "Man, it's so my mortgage is less than my rent was, and I have more space." Like, "Look at all these rooms." And it's less. And I actually told myself I couldn't but I missed the amenities from my apartment. Like, I missed the trash pickup, I missed the lawn care, I missed the all of that. But what you just made me think about is they wrote it into my rent, so why don't I roll it into my mortgage?
mhm,
So if I really wanted those amenities, like, I'm not talking about even the gym, even though all those things, if I wanted those amenities, I could package them up. And now I rolled it into my mortgage. It's like what I pay every month, right?
mhm,
But what I'm getting and what I'm hearing from you is you can roll it into your own mortgage. Now you have what you had in that apartment, but now you have the equity, which also comes from the ownership. And I
absolutely.
think you might be forgetting that. Like you could just roll it into your mortgage the same way that landlord is rolling it into your rent.
Yeah, because 'cause you're
Love
paying for it
that.
anyway. And I think
I'm
that, so many times we do focus on the numbers. I do believe that math is reality. Yet I also encourage people to think about what you could do, like you said, with more space. Right. One of my clients, I remember she shared how, before they purchased, they were living in an apartment. And she was like, we never entertained. Then I realized we never entertained because we didn't have space. As soon as they purchased their home, they were having people over for dinner and birthday parties and things, right? Because they were able to host and entertain. There was space, there were backyards. You think about, and there's so many communities where they have those amenities and features and benefits rolled in. They have gyms, they have pools, they have walking trails, they have so many different type of things. And yeah, you pay for that, right? We're not delusional on this call. You pay for what you want. But you pay for what you want for everything in life, don't you? You
right.
pay for that car that you want. You pay for that trip that you want. So why aren't you paying for the legacy that you want? I hope we understand. And that's why I say let's just have a conversation because we have a conversation, then maybe we can really discover what could be true, right? Yet I always say we don't have an income issue.
Mhm.
We don't have an income issue in our community. We know how to get the bag. There's plenty of people talking about it, right? But because that conversation doesn't go beyond the soft life, we never grow up
Mm.
into the abundant life, the wealthy life.
Yep.
What if you had this equity and it funded your daughter's college tuition?
Mhm.
Or you started where you are and you create cash flow to where it offsets your payment. Let your assets pay for the liability.
Mhm.
All right. You want to go on trips? Like the same people that are telling you that homeownership not important go on vacations every quarter because of that beautiful rent that you send them every month. And you're delusional if you think that that rent is equated to their mortgage and they don't owe you that.
Yeah. I like talking to you and listening to you talk.
I just sometimes I get feisty, yet I promise it's in love. And this is like I said, this is sometimes I feel like we're on two ends of the spectrum. We're either in complete delusional land that real estate should be for free and da 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 da, or we're in complete impossible land, like there's no way that I can attain this. And there is a middle ground. It
Mhm.
will require sacrifice. It will require you being a good steward. I always say that going through the home buying process or home selling process, right? Just like I said, you got to be prepared for that, right? What we're doing is you're proving to God that you are ready for this blessing. You're ready for this gift that God, I'm going to be a good steward. I'm going to learn how to save my money first. I'm going to be a good steward and I'm going to pay my bills on time so that my credit score is this. I'm going to be a good steward. I'm going to file my taxes, right? It's not punishment, it's preparation because you can't just save once and then buy a house and never save again.
Right.
But I promise you, something going to happen.
Mhm.
Something going to happen in that house. And you go, and that's the benefit of ownership. But
Yep.
when you get to that year 10 mark and you say, man, what can I do with this $100,000? Ask yourself something. Dear listener, what is, dear gentle listener, please write down how much money you currently have in your savings account. Please write down how much money you've been able to save after 10 years, right? And then compare that with the change in home values from
Mhm.
2016 to 2026.
Mhm.
The difference, if you're on the other side of that trend line as an owner, is what your net worth would be. And when you have net worth, you have leverage. So that's money that can fund your business. That's money that can fund your next investment. That's money that can fund your next college tuition. That's money that can, whatever, fill in the blank. That's when we learn how to use money strategically, right? So I don't want to shame anybody listening
Mhm.
to this. I'm just asking that you just do the math.
Yeah. I would like to clarify a point that you made when you said, "Sometimes I get feisty." I've, like, not actually experienced you not feisty about the things you care a lot about. So I'm not gonna call you the L word or nothing, but I do wanna clarify that sometimes might not be an accurate depiction, like, an accurate, way to
You
describe
know,
your.
and I appreciate that. I'm embracing that. You know where that really comes from is because I think a lot of times, and I'll just go back to, like I said, just different chapters in my life. It's almost like let me speak for me. I can be afraid to say the truth. I can be afraid to say what really needs to be said and what really needs to be heard because I don't want to hurt your feelings. I don't want you to feel shame. I don't want you to feel embarrassed. Yet, because of all of these velvet gloves that I keep handling people with. I'm not telling them the truth of what needs to be said.
Yep.
And right, like so anytime I feel like I'm cutting straight, I say, okay, sometimes I can be feisty because I will like to say, like I am, it's all the same people, right? I am the smiling Chase. I'm gonna give you a hug when I see you. I'm gonna encourage you. I'm gonna lift you up, right? And at the end of the day, you also want me to tell you the truth. So
Mhm.
if I make you uncomfortable, it's only because I'm telling you the truth. And I want
Mhm.
you to honor that side of me too, right? Because I don't want to be pigeonholed into roses and flowers if the real conversation is you need to get your fertilizer consolidated.
Yep. When somebody is listening to this podcast, like, they just stumble across it in the next 10, 15, 20 years, what are we going to be saying about wealth building and real estate? And what are we gonna know? Like, the reason why we know that or believe that is because Chase told us.
In 15 years, what will somebody looking back and listening to this podcast think?
Mhm. They're gonna listen to it, but they're gonna be like, "I already know this because you've been doing this. What you been doing in those 15 years that are gonna have me listen to this?" Like, "Girl, this what you was talking about back then? She been talking about this for a long time."
That I mean what I say in real life. That I'm not a blip on the radar. My goal is that you may not see me operating in the same capacity. You'll probably see me operating in my in my future, which is as a key philanthropist. And you'll see how I funded that. You'll see that this was the work that, man, this will be the cuts on the edit floor, right?
Mhm.
That this will be the bloopers. This will be the she talked about wondering every day if she was doing the right thing.
Mhm.
That you'll see that I never wake up wanting to go viral. I want to wake up and get value. And so if you're listening to this, um, say hello and listen to the whole tape, I guess. And and just I don't know, these are the receipts. This is a receipt that, it just really wasn't a gimmick or a game. So 15 years you'll see me as a major philanthropist.
A lot of people like talk about their like vision board and what they'll be, and I've interviewed many people. So I've heard the response to what's going to happen in 5 years or 10 years or 15 years or 20 years, and I don't actually believe everybody when they say what's going to happen, but I believe you.
Well, that's because I don't have vision boards. I have strategy boards. So I can appreciate it. I can appreciate casting the vision and
Mhm,
making it plain. That making it plain part, however, that's the strategy. And
mhm,
just so you know, like everything I say, down to the number of families I desire to help this year, is
mhm,
written in how I'm going to educate you. Right.
mhm,
And so I think that vision boards are like the front of the comma. After the comma, it's the strategy, right? So we really shouldn't have vision board parties. We should have strategy planning parties, right? 'Cause everybody has a vision. We know that. But then it just stays up here in your head or it stays up on the one of my colleagues said, that ain't no vision board, that's an art project,
yeah,
right? Because vision requires strategy.
yeah. It's why I
Mhm.
don't go to vision board parties because my vision is already really clear. I don't need to actually bring it to life. Some people need this, so I'm not saying that they're not necessary. For me, I find that my vision is very clear.
Yeah.
Uh, it's very clear, and so I can see exactly what I want the future to look like. What is not yet clear to me is how I'm going to get there, and that's what I need to be spending some time to do. So I'm with you. Um, we
Yeah,
should
I
have.
think you should only like you probably shouldn't have new visions every year. Like your vision should be big enough that you have to grow into it.
Mm,
So it may take you 1 to 3 years to refine that vision or get clear on that vision or dream big enough into that vision, which is where the conversations come from. Right? I
mhm,
remember I was sitting across from a friend. We were in a workshop and they were like, okay, write down your 5 years from now self. And so I was writing down like my thing and then he was writing down his thing. And then they said, okay, now I want you to share your vision with the person next to you. So I'm reading his vision and oh my God, I started taking things from his vision and applying it to my vision because I just didn't even think like that. I mean, he was
yeah,
like ownership in title companies, ownership in insurance companies, and this thing and that thing. And it was just so cash flow productive. And
mhm,
my thing was like sales focused.
mhm.
Oh, I want to
Make
sell
money.
these things, right? So I
Mhm,
was still thinking like in a container versus a reservoir that flows, right? Like a river that flows. And so sometimes you do have to go to the party so you can get exposed to grander visions. Because again, if you've only seen one environment, you don't even know. I remember I was teaching young adults class and we were talking about active and passive income. One of the students in my class was 15 years old. And I was saying, passive income is where you earn income without having to work. And the student, she was from New Orleans. She's like, I don't understand. And I said, well, help me. What's your question? She said, how you get money by not going to work? It's a valid question. She's 15 years old. She,
mhm,
you know, grew up in New Orleans. She moved down here for Katrina. So her perspective hadn't been exposed to that. She never heard about that. She never even thought that was possible. What do you mean? people make money and don't have to work. All right. And so just by being exposed to that conversation, now she's 15. I'm not saying that she went out and bought a house,
Right.
right? But she had that seed that she
Mhm.
can ruminate over. So sometimes you get in the environment to see other people's vision so that you can refine your own. Yet at some point, after the vision is laid, then you got to get in the environment with the strategy people.
Mhm.
So that way you can think about how do I remember when I was in your Fund Her Forward cohort, right? I've been in business for 10 years. I was on that call like, like everything was just being made simple for me, right?
Mhm.
Because I hadn't been in strategy conversations. So what you're looking for exists. You just simply have to find the environment that matches your future self, not the one that you feel comfortable being the authority in. Right.
Yep.
So when I say I didn't show up transparent, I showed up broken, right? I had to get to a point to where it was like, is there a heart? Is there a heart in the house tonight?
Stand up.
Stand up. You gotta get to a place where you are willing to be led without shame, without embarrassment, where even if you are embarrassed, you're like, you know what? I don't even care no more. I don't care if you guys think that Chase is supposed to have this all figured out. I don't. I'm just a sequence of persistent failures strung together that look like some.
You cute though. You cute. I I appreciate you.
I appreciate
I
you more.
do. I just do. You bring, people are like, "Oh, she brings a light." It's like, it's n for me, it's not a light. Like, when people say, "You bring a light," and I think that, sometimes it's like you brighten up the room, right? I think you do something else, but I don't know what it is. Like, maybe you bring, like, a little thermostat. I don't really know. I don't know the analogy for it, but
Mhm.
you warm the space. Um,
Thank you.
you make spaces feel real, even virtual ones, and I
Oh, thank you.
appreciate that about you. And I appreciate you accepting the invitation to have this conversation, and I hope that everybody listening or seeing, um, is, convinced, like I am, that, like, for real, you're gonna change the trajectory of so many people's lives. You will become a philanthropist who continues to pour into communities. And communities will be made better because you were there and because you touched it.
Thank
Um,
you.
so y'all, I will make sure that all of Chase's clicks, links, all of the things happen in the show notes. And you should find yourself in community with her to the best of your ability, whether it's virtually or in person. So please follow along with her journey while we all watch her become the philanthropist she's to become. Are there any, kind of final things you would wanna leave the women in our community with before we say bye-bye?
You deserve to be held and hugged. So I thank you for sharing that, I bring warmth to a community and that's the experience you deserve. And so, I don't know, 15 years, I might be like Beyonce. I don't know if you'll be able to hug me. So hug me now, child. Hug me now.
Get your hugs. I love that. Thank you, Chase.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for your time today.